Two women visit a line of crosses in honor of the victims of First Baptist Church shooting. Victims in Sutherland Springs, Tex. As Farida Brown lay on the floor in the last row of pews in Sutherland Springs First Baptist Church, the 73-year-old woman felt certain she would be the next one killed. And she almost was. Subscribe to the Post-Most newsletter. Today's most popular stories on the Washington Post. The gunman had fired numerous rounds into her legs. She was shot 4 times, but they all struck soft tissue. None of her bones were broken, and no arteries were hit, her son said, but the man was revisiting those he had shot to make sure they were dead, and if they weren't, he was shooting them once more. Brown's recollections of the horror that she and others in the church experienced, as told to her son, are among the first offered by one of the 20 wounded Sunday in the rampage that killed 26 churchgoers. The son, David Brown, told her story to reporters Monday, including CNN and The Washington Post. The first inkling that there was something wrong, David Brown told The Washington Post, was when she heard shots being fired through the windows from outside. Then, when the gunman entered, Farida Brown had heard the relentless popping as he opened fire on worshippers. She had watched him shoot anyone who attempted to flee. The Sunday school teacher told her to get down on the floor. He then fled. Victims of the Texas church shooting slideshow by Reuters. She told her son that the shooter paced back and forth, firing into the pews and shooting at cell phones anytime someone tried to call police. He shot at her phone at least 3 times. As the gunman fired shots into the congregation, everyone was running around trying to escape, said David Brown, but most lay on the floor, hiding. The gunman fired 4 shots into the torso of the woman on Farida Brown's left. David Brown said, with every shot, she was crying. Brown said of the woman, she was just staring at my mom while she tried to comfort her. As he fired rounds into the woman, Brown held her hand, telling her she was eating to heaven. Up until that point, Farida Brown had only sustained shots to her legs. But as the shooter fired into the woman next to her, Farida Brown prepared to baseline. Then she thought that it was her turn. David Brown told The Washington Post, she just started praying. At that moment, she heard a shot fired from a different man at the front door. The gunman has since been identified as Devin Patrick Kelly. The other man, the one who confronted him, was Stephen Wilford, who lives near the church. Wilford, a certified shooting instructor, grabbed his own rifle and raced out of his house barefoot. I kept hearing the shots, one after another, Wilford told 40/29 News. Very rapid shots. Just pop 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 pop. And I knew every one of those shots represented someone. That it was aimed at someone. That they weren't just random shots. He saw me and I saw him, Wilford told the station. It was Wilford's presence that distracted Kelly. Wilford hit Kelly at least once, authorities said. Kelly then dropped his rifle, jumped in his Ford Expedition SUV, and fled. Wilford, with the help of Johnny Langendorf, who had stopped in his truck when he saw what was happening, gave chase at high speed, until Kelly's car careened off the road into a ditch. Kelly was dead, with 3 gunshot wounds, including a self-inflicted shot to the head, authorities said. Monday, Wilford apparently hit him in the leg and torso. According to Freeman Martin of the Texas Department of Public Safety, Farida Brown survived. She sustained bullet wounds and bullet fragments and shrapnel in her legs, groin and left hip. David Brown first heard about the attack through a text message from his sister. There's been a shooting at Mom's church. The message read, he said, she's been shot. What kind of a sick joke is this? He said he thought. He immediately packed a bag and drove from Houston to the hospital in Floresville, Texas, where his mother was undergoing surgery. Farida Brown emerged from surgery about 45 minutes after he arrived. The next day, when she had begun to recover from surgery, She described the scene in further detail to Texas Rangers authorities and to hospital staff. With her son in the room, he said, she did not feel comfortable speaking to news outlets on Monday, and asked her son to recount her experiences. Two women visit a line of crosses in honor of the victims of First Baptist Church shooting. Victims in Sutherland Springs, Texas. Two other survivors, Joaquin Ramirez and Joanne Solis, told KSAT that when the babies in the church cried, the gunman would shoot them point blank. Solis was shot in the arm, near the front door, while Ramirez was struck by shrapnel. Everybody started screaming, yelling, Solis told KSAT. Everybody got down, under, wherever they could hide. They huddled on the ground, pretending they were dead, and watched as bullets hit the church's carpeted floor. I hear firecrackers popping. Ta ta ta, she recalled. It was so scary. He was shooting hard. David Brown, 50, son of Farida Brown, David Brown's nephew, who arrived at the church shortly after the shooting, described it as walking into a scene in a movie. There were just dead bodies laying everywhere. Brown said his nephew told him. Farida Brown still does not know the identity of the woman on her left, her son said, nor whether she survived the shooting. She doesn't know what happened to the Sunday school teacher after he fled the church. She's wondering why none of her church friends have called. David Brown said, in many cases, it's because they didn't survive. Farida Brown has been a member of First Baptist Church for about 10 years. She never misses a Sunday. Brown said, all of her friends she hangs out with during the week all go to the church. Every Thursday morning, she helps serve a breakfast for a Bible study class at the church. She knows she was blessed. Brown said, she told me she would have gladly taken 15 more shots to the legs if it could have saved more lives. He said it's amazing that his mother is already walking around with a walker. Her legs are still covered in bandages from ankle to hip, and her knee is swollen up really big. But Farida Brown should be released from the hospital by Tuesday. Her son said, in 2 or 3 weeks she'll be dancing again. David Brown said, more on the Texas shooting. Sutherland Springs pastor, I don't understand, but I know my God does. Death sweeps across 3 generations of a single family gathered at Texas church. Woe is Devin Patrick Kelly. The gunman, officials say, killed churchgoers in Sutherland Spring. An unlikely hero describes gun battle and 95 miles per hour pursuit of Texas shooting suspect.